So welcome back to another episode, and this is a very special episode. We have a very special guest, and this is William Chow, also known as the Godfather of Anime in Vancouver here and in North America, and he also goes by another name, the King of Smut, 95, and we'll get into that a little bit later, which is kind of funny, but you have a heck of a history in Vancouver. And I'm so happy you could come on the show today that we can just talk about the old days of anime, what it used to be like, and what it's turned into now, and what you did back then. You did so much for anime back before it was on TV and in everybody's homes, and people could download it. You were doing the groundwork, and I guess we'll just start with, how did you get into anime?
Well, as I said, when I first came down to Vancouver, I was starting to study at the UBC. And I like just about everyone else out there, watches Saturday morning cartoons and whatnot.
Yeah, we watch Saturday morning cartoons,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I started seeing this Robotech thing.
That's what I saw too. Yeah.
And actually, it's really kind of funny story. Actually, one of the first episodes I actually saw of Robotech was like episode 32, where the Earth is getting blasted and everybody's dying. And,
the Zentradi are attacking.
They're just blasting the Earth. So that was actually like the very, very first episode I saw. Yeah. And in comparison to all the other stuff I'm watching, which is essentially all your superhero type shows,
and Bugs Bunny, and
this is like a total change. Like the bad the bad guys are actually winning.
I know.
The Earth is losing, right?
And the Earth got destroyed.
Yeah, exactly.
The Earth got annihilated. Billions of people wiped out in that episode.
Exactly. So I wanted to get more of this sort of the show. Watch more of it. Also at that time, I was meeting a whole bunch of new people because I'm new in Vancouver. I'm going to the comic book stores, and they are releasing this Robotech Macross thing.
Yeah, but there wasn't a lot of merchandise back then.
Very little, right?
Yeah, very little.
Yeah. So that's as I'm talking to different people, they're giving me sources and information on where I could find more this sort of Japanese sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, all the stuff that we're getting was still straight in Japanese. I mean, there was no translation.
No, not back then.
No, not back then.
Yeah.
But as the more I watched, the more different topics I was able to get into. I started getting into Gundam, and City Hunter, Dirty Pair.
Such
popular titles back then.
The deeper you went, there was so much stuff out in Japan that was not even here at all.
And it was so. At that time, was so radically different than your typical, let's say, superhero type show.
Yeah.
Where it's like at the beginning of the episode, some sort of conflict happens. The good guy beats down the bad guy, and that's the end of the episode, right?
Done. Yeah.
Yeah. Where a lot of these new shows are all one episode carries on to the next.
It was an entire story over sometimes 25 episodes, which it usually was back then.
Especially things like at the time I was watching like Zeta Gundam and Double Zeta Gundam, and of course all the episodes are all in the wrong order because I'm getting a lot of these tapes from like video rental stores.
For me, it was really difficult. I kind of got into anime same way. Robotech really hooked me. I think it hooked a lot of our generation. And then I was like, okay, where can I get some merchandise? There was nothing. There was like a Robotech art book. And that was it. And that was like released a year later. And then I found out, I went to a comic book convention. I don't know how it was for you. And I met Nicholas Condor, who was in Victoria. He was running the Victoria animation group. And I was like, oh my God, other people who are into this? Like, this is before the internet. So you'd go to a convention, and it was crazy to meet people who were into it. I was like so stoked.
Yes.
And then I joined that group, and that's kind of how I got into anime. And then I kind of led into you. Where were you at that time?
Let's see. I was I was led into this local comic book store, who's the person who worked there was a Carter Lamb, and he, with the help of Nicholas Condor, had decided to set up this Vancouver Japanese animation club. And so, and they started handing out these flyers and leaflets to all these different comic stores and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so, so I got really excited, and I said, okay, I'll help you, get this thing started and go there. So and that's basically when we went to the first meeting at Trout Lake. Now,
I remember that. So we're going to get to that one in a second, but at that time, you have to understand, in Canada at that time and America, there was the group, the anime groups were kind of linked together through the science fiction groups. Yes. How did that work back then?
Well, because the anime wasn't big enough by itself,
Yeah.
You basically had people that were interested in other things, so that and anime was just sort of one of the side parts. So
Yeah.
science fiction was obviously a big part that it would click onto, but there was also like gaming clubs, like for example at the UBC, before UBC Anime came out, they were associated with the UBC War Gamers,
Right.
which played a lot of tabletop games. And so some of the anime fans that I met were actually part of that club.
And this is important to mention is that back then, before the internet, all these groups were linked through pen pals and writing to each other.
Yeah.
But all the groups, and this is the interesting, all the groups were related. So the anime group was related to the gaming group, and it was related to the science fiction group. So everybody, like, it was pretty much nerd culture is very underground. So
Yes.
That's how everybody was related. And then so there was a Victoria group, and then when did you say, like, oh, geez, I'm going to start the Vancouver Japanese Animation Club? When, like, did you just sit down one day and say, well, I got some Laserdiscs, I'm going to start some subtitling? Like, how did that even start?
Basically after the Vancouver Animation Club began, I became sort of the chairperson of that, because I had at that time a lot of the videos and that kind of stuff on in my library, and then basically what we did at the meetings is we basically brought different types of videos to play. Once in a while, we would bring some magazines and some art books or something, so that we could show other people that this stuff is out there. I mean, again, none of it was in English, so people were just looking at these art books and like,
wow,
essentially, this is great. I mean, lots of great artwork. They couldn't read any of the text.
No.
But they'd be looking at like schematic tech diagrams of like of a Veritech fighter, and they're like, wow, this is like so cool, and like this is the the layout of the thrusters, like this is
and it's called a Valkyrie in Japan.
And they have no idea what all these arrows and what the text is written, but they'd be like fascinated at the diagrams and all the color artworks.
Yeah, and that's what was one of the draws of the club, is like, to meet other people who were into anime, because it's I can't say enough that it's not like today where anime's just everywhere. Look, you go in Chapters now.
Yeah.
I went in Chapters, and that's a bookstore in Vancouver. I couldn't even get into the manga section. There was so many people down there. And back in the day, you couldn't even find one book in a bookstore, one anime book. And so that was the appeal. You go and there's all these anime books and videos, and you're like, oh my god, this is Macross the movie, and you're like, and it's like, it wasn't subtitled. I remember getting beta tapes sent from Nicholas from Victoria, and I'd put it in and I'd watch Macross the movie and no subtitles, and I just had to piece it together and I'd figure it out. And maybe you get a fanzine explaining the rough story and all that. And then, so really, you had the most Laserdiscs. So you started buying Laserdiscs and you were like, I'm going to subtitle.
Absolutely. See, what happened is that later in time, I met with different type of people, and one of the people I met was Daisuke, our translator. Yeah. And one of the things that Daisuke was really good at the early times is he was really enthusiastic about anime.
That's good.
I mean, like to an extent that he would literally hold a manga in front of your face.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, reading the dialogue to you.
Yeah.
From the manga, and he'd be almost to an excitement that he'd be almost voice acting it out to you.
Yeah.
Like Renna, Kureze.
But isn't that how we all felt back then?
Exactly.
Back then we were so excited about this art form, and we wanted everybody in North America to see it.
Yes, exactly.
And you were the one that made that happen with Daisuke, with yourself. Yes. He started doing all the translations. And
so he started doing translation work, and then basically we wanted to try to get some equipment together to put these subtitles onto it. Now, again, this is really
What year is this?
Oh my god, this is like
is that 1989 and
88, 89? Yeah, that was about right. Yeah. Because so basically, we came up with this idea. It's okay, we'll try to get some subtitles overlaid on top of this video, right? And of course, back then, technology isn't like it is today, where you could actually take the entire video and sample it into iMovie and it is all linear. So basically, it's you have to basically kind of like press play on the machine over here, and then press record on a VCR over here, and then basically just record the content as it's going through. And same thing with the computer. You have to try to tie the computer at the same time to record all this output. So it's one shot, one go. If you made a mistake, it records that way.
Oh my god!
And if you made a mistake, well, let's say it's like a 2-hour movie, and you made a mistake an hour and 30 minutes into the movie, stop, rewind everything back to the beginning again, and you got to redo it all over again.
And that must have happened a lot.
Oh yes, yeah, because as I said, I mean, people are always nitpicking about timing and that stuff, and especially in the modern era, it's very easy to fix, right? Because you've got the WAV file, and you can pinpoint exactly when dialogue starts and stops. But back in the early days, again, the computers weren't strong enough to do that. The only thing the computer could do at that time was basically queue a text file up.
Yeah.
And then whenever the dialogue comes up, it just puts that title on the screen, and then you have to rely on this this piece of equipment called the genlock to actually put it on the screen. But then again, a human has to sort of set that out and
manually do that.
And manually do it by numbers. Like you can't let the computer figure out where all the voice peaks and all that stuff are, because again, the technology wasn't there.
So you and your team, and how big was the team eventually? Like, because you guys became known as Arctic Animation, and that was a really well-known, probably the biggest.
Yeah, we probably did. At that time in that format, we probably did well over 1,000 different episodes and movies.
And that got spread across Canada, across the United States. Yeah. And I'm going to bring up that story before I get it. People from all over start to hear about this guy called William Chow, the Godfather of Anime in Vancouver, and they're like, this guy has all the anime, and we want some of his anime. And even Star Trek The Next Generation, the producers, were writing to you because they wanted episodes of like Dan Cougar or something?
Oh, they want different episodes and stuff. I remember they got that. They was on Game Point. They actually asked for a CD of Zelda.
Yeah?
I don't know if that ever showed up in any episodes of Voyager or not, but definitely that's one of the things that
this is how well known you became. You became so well known. Everybody knew your name. Everybody in Vancouver who's in anime, everybody across Canada knew William Chow, Arctic Animation, and whenever you get a video cassette back then, you were the one who did the subtitles. Your group. And how many people was it?
Well, there's only about a handful of us, really.
It's amazing. You guys were working constantly.
Oh yes. Into the night sometimes.
Oh my God.
I know that some nights we'd be working on like a movie or something, and it'd be like midnight or something, and all of a sudden you hear the scream from the living room. The computer crashed, and it's like that's what happened. The computer would lock up, right? And here you are recording the movie, and if the computer locks up, you got to start all over again.
Oh my God!
Because the title's stuck on the screen, and it's like. No!
and the thing is, you guys were recording all of this stuff just to hand it out for free because you just wanted everybody to see anime. That was the entire focus of what you guys were doing.
Yeah, because as I said, it's at the time, these, the commercial companies weren't really releasing a lot of this, this what I refer to as things that weren't the 3 Gs.
Yeah. Which
was girls, guns, and gore. I mean, if you had those three, that's what. And at the early times, if you think about, what was out in the early days, you think of your Bubblegum Crisis, your Ixir 1,
Project Aiko.
Yeah, exactly. All those sort of had that same sort of focus, and all that other stuff that came from the, the Cream Lemon series. But
also, if we're going to talk about back then. If you were wanting to buy an original tape released officially by a company, it was super, super expensive. Like, I remember buying like a tape of Nadia, The Adventures of the Secret Blue Water, had 2 episodes on it. It was like $45 Canadian.
Oh yes. I mean,
a video cassette.
Yeah. In the early days, I mean, the tapes and that stuff were very, very expensive, even later on when they started releasing them onto like laser discs, that was a new thing. But the same thing, it was only had like an episode or 2 on one or both sides of the laser disc. I mean, laser discs at that time were still $40-$50.
Yeah.
So you're paying, almost $1 a minute.
Yeah.
Just to get these things.
I always used to marvel at your collection. Like, all William had was all the latest Laserdiscs from Japan. You must have spent a fortune.
Oh, just a horrible amount of money on that stuff.
It's sick to think about.
Because as I said, we were always constantly looking for a better quality master. And at the time, Laserdiscs were the big thing because DVDs weren't out quite yet.
Yeah.
And so, laserdiscs were the way to do it, right? But the problem is that, a typical laserdisc was was like 7,800 yen. And so if you do the conversion, it's roughly about $78 US.
With shipping.
Yeah.
I know.
And of course, when you order it in from from one of our local bookstores or whatever, they got to make their profit and shipping,
of course,
GST, PST.
Yeah.
You could easily pay over $100 for a laserdisc, and this laserdisc may only contain 30 minutes.
Oh, especially for OVAs.
Yeah, OVAs. Like I said, one of my most favorite OVAs I got is the Galaxy from Yuna.
Oh yeah,
which is
PC
Engine game.
Yeah,
right?
I remember. Yeah. Well, okay. What is the most expensive box set you ever bought? Was it Orange Road or something?
Orange Road is one of the more expensive ones, yeah.
Like for a box set, that's the entire series on lasers. What's the most expensive one you bought? How much was that?
Yeah, probably Orange Road because it's or Maison Ikaku. Maison Ikaku.
How much?
Because there's 92 episodes in that one.
Holy crap.
Okay, and that easily went over $2,500.
Oh my god. So what do you think the biggest difference between being an anime fan back in the 80s to an anime fan nowadays? What's the change that you've seen?
One of the major changes is that back in our time, people spent a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of resources in the acquisition of the anime. So this is trying to order it in, trying to get the tapes or the videos, their DVD or Laserdisc or whatever, and to actually to get the actual anime.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas nowadays, people can easily get the anime. They could just download and view it that way. But now they're spending all the money on all the participation of the anime. So this is them cosplaying and going to conventions and that kind of stuff.
Conventions have really changed too. Back in the day, it was just about merchandise. You used to go to the San Diego Comic Book Convention, and they'd have all these anime things there. Where now it's almost all about cosplay when you go to anime conventions. That's become one of the main focuses.
I think in the old days, conventions were more again about trying to sell you the stuff, trying to get you the anime, the CDs, the books, the doujinshis or whatever, that kind of stuff. Now it's more, come to the convention, show off your cosplay. We're gonna have cosplay contests. We're gonna have idol contests.
Yes, there's so much stuff
like that.
We're gonna have
all these games that you can play in, like cosplay chess or something or whatever. And and there's more talk groups.
Yeah.
Where they're going to discuss different things about the anime. They're going to have voice actors doing singing or autograph sessions and that kind of stuff. Where back then it was more just we're going to open up a lot of video rooms and you can go in and watch these new animes and whatnot.
Yeah.
Where that's so that's where the change.
The major change has changed
is that you no longer need to go to the convention to get the anime. You go to the convention to enjoy
other people's company,
other people,
and the community aspects.
Yeah, the interaction with the anime.
Yeah. The one thing that I definitely noticed is that back in the old days, there was one club. So if you lived in Vancouver, you were in one club, the Vancouver Japanese Animation Club. That was it. Everybody was welcome. Didn't matter who you were. Everybody was welcome. Where now there's subgroups within subgroups within there's so many groups within groups. Even in Vancouver now, we don't just have one anime convention. We have multiple because there's so many different factions that have happened over the years. And
I think that because of there's so much anime out there, people can basically pick and choose exactly what types of anime they like, and then they can also associate with just those type of people who are interested in just that kind of anime.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a little bit sad because one of the things that when we're in a larger club sort of setting is that people can come up with suggestions, or you could see different things like art books or whatever, or even have Daisuke come up to you and read you a manga or something.
Oh yeah.
And of something that's totally out in left field that you would never ever thought about, but because he's sometimes his enthusiasm is really infectious.
Yeah, you learn about new stuff.
Yeah, you learn about new stuff. Like for example, I would have never gotten into magical girl shows.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Daisuke, because he'd be like reading a manga and he'd pull out a particular funny a part of the manga and you'd read it out and it's like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then so that's how we got into things like Miracle Girls and Hime-chan's Ribbon and Red Riding Hood Cha-Cha. I mean, with a name like that, you'd think Red Riding Hood Cha-Cha. I mean, that sounds like a kids show. I mean, that's like
the amount of times here's something we have to talk about. You opened a store.
Yes.
You opened a store that must have been 1994.
Oh yeah, pretty close. Yeah, it was a little bit before that. Yeah, but yeah, around there. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around there. And I remember I was in England at the time, and I came back, and I don't know. I heard through the local scene because it still was no internet back then.
Yeah.
That you would open an anime store, and I went in and I was like, oh my god! And you did dubbing of tapes there, so we could get copies of tapes there, and all sorts of things, and that was a huge thing. And you guys did so much.
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh, it got to a point where why just at the time I was doing lots of mail correspondence because that's what it was. A lot of fan mail, and then I was also part of this thing called the Cartoon Fantasy Organization.
Yeah.
Which is a big network of fan clubs all throughout the North America here, and so basically I got a lot of requests and that kind of stuff. But I thought, why just restrict it to just the people mailing and that kind of stuff? There's, we gotta have an office or someplace that people could just drop in and just, I'm interested in Macross or something, and they'd be able to. Get stuff, and also we're also getting all at this time a lot of people interested in the art books and the merchandise.
Yeah,
and there's nowhere to really kind of get that kind of stuff.
You're selling PC Engine games. You're selling
everything.
Great soundtracks. I got so much stuff in your store. I bought so much stuff in there, and that was really the heyday for me when I come in and drop off 6 tapes, and I get like Macross Plus, Street Fighter the movie, like Street Fighter V the TV show. That was like the heyday for me of anime, and I thank you still to this day that you guys were doing all of that and providing this free service in Vancouver. Can you understand a free service? It was amazing, and you yourself built up a hell of a collection of stuff, and I gotta ask you, do you still have it all?
Yes.
You have it all?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Good. I didn't know because I remember I talked to you a while ago, and you said you were thinking about selling, or you had sold a bunch.
Well, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I had in the store, which is like a lot of duplicates and all that stuff.
Sure, yeah.
But I got so I sold off a lot of that stuff, and Amazon did, eBay did, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of the key things that are part of my collection, I still kept all of it.
Yeah.
So for example, I remember we were one of the really big hot topics back then was CDs.
Yeah.
So I ended up collecting the entire SM CD collection set and the Ever Anime set, just like the whole thing. So that's like 500 CDs.
There's a catalog. I remember that, and you had everything.
Yeah. Whatever it was, I ordered it in, and I got like 500 something plus CDs. That one.
Incredible, man.
And then I was also one of the very few people at the bookstore that bought the Japanese CD catalog.
Yeah.
So again, at this time, the internet wasn't available. So how did you know what to order? Well, they made these big, thick telephone book-like catalogs.
Yeah, I remember those.
And what it does, it lists every single CD that was released in that year by any company or whatever. So I'd actually order my own personal copy of this.
Yeah.
And whenever I got the new one that came in, I'd just be pouring through it, looking. And it's not sorted by. It's not. It's sorted by an alphabetical order by title and by whatever. So I would just be pouring through it, and I'd be looking and going, see, that's the orange one. Okay, got that one. Sound and color. Okay, got that one. Got that one. Hey, I don't have that one. I'll order it in, right? And what's so worse about it is that, there's no track listing.
Yeah.
You have no idea what it is. It's just to say, Orange Road.
The title and
image, song collection, or whatever. And just like, sure. Okay, 3,000 yen. Okay, sure. $30. Here you go.
Yeah.
Throw it down and throw it. And sometimes it turns out really good, and sometimes you get
you get the arranged version.
Yeah.
I hate the arranged version ones.
My funniest story was for Heaven Wars Shurado.
Yeah.
After I got some CDs, and all of a sudden these other CDs started appearing, and I didn't. What the heck was this, right? So I said, okay, fine, I'll order them in.
Audio drama?
Yes, they're all audio dramas. And it's like, oh my god, what the heck is all this stuff? And then I was later told by Daisuke, one of the things that Shurado did, which is a little unique, is that usually instead of letting other people and whatever, and doujin artists and that kind of stuff, instead of them making comics and making fun of Shurado, the cast and the writers of Shurado decided to make fun of themselves.
Crazy.
So they made these audio CDs of themselves making fun of themselves and getting the voice actors to act out the stories.
And you bought all of them.
And I bought all of them.
Oh, man.
And to this date, I probably still don't know what any of them say or what any of the dialogue is on them. But all I know is that there are some pretty funny ones.
So you have an amazing anime CD collection.
Yes.
And then, do you still have your PC Engine collection? Do you still
Yes.
have,
Yep.
Do you have a lot of games?
Some, yeah. So,
Some of them are worth a lot of money now.
Yeah, definitely some of them are. Yeah.
And your video game collection?
Yeah. I still have a PC Engine FX as well.
Nice, yeah. Do you have all the games for it as well?
Yeah, some. A lot
That's
of
pretty
games,
cool.
Yeah,
Because that was a good thing about your store. You could go in there and I'd be like, hey, what's this PC Engine game? You'll go here and you'd open up the package and you could play PC Engine in the store. I mean, that's so cool. You couldn't do that anywhere in Vancouver.
Yeah. That's I remember. A lot of people like to come to the store to play games, and so I always made sure I had lots of video game consoles and things set up so that people can come in and drop in and I want to play a level of Langrisser or something. Pop in the Super Nintendo.
I learned about Langrisser from you.
Yeah.
I just knew it was Warsong. Then I'm like, oh, it's called Langrisser.
Yeah.
And I found out about all the other PC Engine games, stuff like that. And I learned a lot of stuff from hanging out at that store. And that was a cool thing. It was great to meet all the other people in Vancouver who come in. And it was a very small group of people. We still kind of know each other now. Vancouver's is a pretty small place for the fandom community still. It's changed quite a bit over the years. But what other collections? Like there's a reason why you have the name King of Smut 95.
Yeah.
And that's because you had, do you mind me saying, one of the biggest hentai collections in North America?
No, I wouldn't say that much.
I'm
sure more people have gotten.
I don't know. You were the king of smut.
At that time, yeah. That's
basically
what had happened is that when I started going down to anime conventions, and this is about again 94, 95.
San Diego and stuff, yeah.
And this was at the height of the new Sailor Moon boom.
Yeah.
Okay, so that basically brought in all the other the segments of the market, female market and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so one of the really big popular things, especially at San Diego at that time, was this introduction of doujinshi.
Yes.
Okay, and since Sailor Moon was the most popular thing,
tons of that.
Tons of Sailor Moon doujinshi.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know what doujinshi is, it's basically fan-drawn comics.
Yeah.
So,
but they look like the originals.
Yeah. That's the thing. A lot of people, when we think Comic Con or Comic Convention, it's a place where all these comic book stores are selling their comic books and that kind of stuff. Where a Comic-Con is more like an artist alley.
Yeah.
Where all these different artists have drawn different things or have games and that kind of, and then they'd be selling those and whatever. So
yeah.
So every time I go down to these conventions, just stacks and stacks of like.
And they were cheap, probably, right?
No, they were pretty darn expensive.
Were they expensive?
Some of them were really darn expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, sure. There's some basic ones, $10, $20.
Yeah.
But some of those, like I remember the doujin for Record of Lotus Wars.
Yeah.
Was like $100.
What? Did you buy it?
Yeah, of course.
That's so funny. And so you became obsessed with getting all this stuff, and that became an obsession into itself. Like, I must admit, being into anime and video gaming and stuff like that, it is an obsession. Type of thing. And then that became your obsession to get as much stuff as possible. Do you have it all now? Or is it gone?
Oh no, I still have.
Go get it. Yeah. It's all stored in boxes somewhere.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bagged and everything else like that.
Oh my god. But you must admit, you probably have some super rare stuff that people have never ever seen.
Oh yeah, I mean, now because it's it's really very hard to get. There's still a couple of ones I'm still looking for. There's but yeah, definitely a lot of the really popular animes.
What does your wife think about your hentai collection?
Oh, she doesn't know about it.
Make sure she
doesn't know what hentai is. Okay?
Yeah, don't make her watch this video. Then.
Don't Google this at work.
Yeah, exactly. We'll put no links for anything like that in there, but that's just she's never seen it. She doesn't know anything about it. No. So you have a secret collection in your home.
Yeah, somewhere.
That's like, do you have enough room?
Yeah.
For all that stuff, like how many boxes of things do you have?
Oh, it's like.
Give me like 20,
50,
60.
60, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
I mean,
with it all?
I probably have at least, the standard white comic boxes that you see at a comic book store, the standard length. I probably have 10 of those of just doujins.
And like we're talking like the 1990 ones, which would be
1990 to about 95, 96. And again, I didn't get everything. I just picked a lot of the popular titles that I liked and a lot of the popular artists.
Yeah.
And again, I liked at that time a lot of Street Fighter ones, so
Yeah. Well, I always remember you'd always come back from the San Diego Comic Convention, and I'd go into your store, and you'd be like, yeah, I got a whole bunch of new smuts, and you were so happy about it. It was so funny. So something else I want to bring up that I used to find absolutely fascinating is that I come into the store, and I didn't know that you had narcolepsy. So I'd be in. That means that you don't get enough oxygen. You first fall asleep.
Yeah, we're not getting to sleep at night, and
you fall asleep instantly. So I'd have a conversation. I'd be mid-conversation. We'd be talking about something, and you'd be like, yeah. And you'd fall asleep mid-conversation. That was part of your charm. You'd be like, yeah. And you just fall asleep. I was like, wow, this is amazing. So I'd always kind of like, okay, he's falling asleep. And I'd go wander off and I'd come back and he'd be like, yeah. And you'd come back into conversation like a minute later. It was so wild. Do you still have that happen?
A little bit, but now that I'm actually getting proper sleep, then I'm not staying up until like 3 a.m. in the morning trying to subtitle something.
Stuff, and all that.
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to do with your collection? What's going to happen with that?
Well, definitely I'm going to keep most. I've already all the original like tape masters and that kind of stuff. I'm going to convert over to SVHS from SVHS onto like a digital form.
Yeah,
so that
sure.
So that it doesn't suffer from any more tape rot. There's a couple of things that I'm keeping. For example, like Double Zeta Gundam.
Yeah.
We actually got pressed to DVD.
Oh wow, yeah. You want your originals, right? It's kind of nostalgic and
exactly.
It means something to you now. What do you think of how it's changed now that now an episode in Japan comes out, it's subtitled and released on digitally instantly? How does it make you feel from the work you guys used to do to seeing that happen now?
Well, with the advances of technology, I mean, that's what makes this all possible, right? And we're able to get faster internet and faster editing suites on our computers and that kind of stuff and whatnot. So it's great that this stuff is coming out and being more widely distributed.
Yeah.
It's good and bad. I also have this other mixed feeling that one of the things that we did when we started the anime club back then was, we always kept on thinking, wow, wouldn't it be great if we could watch anime on TV?
Yeah, that's all we wanted.
Wouldn't it be great if we could watch like Dragon Ball or something like that on TV and actually come home and after
school.
That was the dream. And wow, Dragon Ball's on the screen and then you could watch it and you don't have to get these weird tapes or rent and stuff. And then all of a sudden we got that.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, we got our Dragon Ball, we got our Inuyasha, we got
everything.
Gundam Wing, Gundam Seed. I mean, great, we got anime on TV.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden now we don't anymore.
Yeah, and also we kind of lost a sense of community from that. Everybody's in their home, they download a show, they watch it on their computer, and then that's it. There's no real I remember you'd have anime showings at Douglas College on the big screen, and people could go down, and if you're part of the club, you just go in and watch anime on the big screen, like Wings of Bodianas and so many great shows. And that aspect, that was one thing I was sad to see the anime clubs die in a way, as they have, and replaced with nothing. Really.
Yeah.
There's nothing really in town anymore. There's no club. There's no store. There's no place to go. We can't watch anime on the big screen unless there's weird showings downtown or anything. But
that's the thing. Is people don't don't want to communicate or want to associate with each other, because that was one of the things back in the day that was one of the key things was that. Our community was sufficiently small. Yeah. That you were gathered together. And you were able to, talk about different topics, and not just anime too. A lot of people like branched off into different things that were really
just video games and all.
Yeah, video games and just like board gaming and that kind of stuff. Because a lot of people were also interested in collecting other things, like card collecting, because that also at that time, Pokemon was a really big phase, and they were trading Pokemon cards and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a huge thing. Yeah.
And during the Sailor Moon phase, trading Sailor Moon cards was a really big thing. Because I remember that was one of the hottest things that a lot of the high school students would come in for.
Yeah.
They'd be getting Sailor Moon cards, and they'd be like, they want the shiny this or shiny that, and all that stuff.
And then that's all kind of gone now. It's like
because they don't like yours.
If I'm an anime fan in Vancouver now, where do I go? What club do I sign up there? There's no real official Vancouver Animation Club that's active, really.
No, it's just, I mean, sure. I mean, the universities have their clubs, right?
Yeah. So I
And-
guess it's like the universities now and
Yeah.
stuff like that. If you want to be part of that, which is cool. But for a regular person, like it's weird that for when you get older, it's like they're like you can't like when I go to an anime convention now, it's weird because everybody's so young, and you don't want to bother the younger people because you're like older guys now. So it's like there's no real sense of community or one club like there used to be. And back in the day, there was young people, older people, every type of person was invited. And that's one thing that's sad to see kind of go. So I know, but I just got to thank you so much for all your contributions over the years, everything that you did for the anime scene. And for me, being a younger guy, I was like 14, you were probably like 26 at the time. I looked up to you. And I was like, I want to be William Chow when I grow up. I want to have this massive Laserdisc collection and just live in the world of anime and have, kind of grow up, but also have fun and still, like anime and science fiction movies and not become that old person that becomes boring and all that. I wanted to have a bit of fun, and I kind of turned into you in a way, which is really, really kind of fun. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a pure pleasure. So anyways, guys, until next time.